Good morning, brand DIYers. It is Mark here. It is Wednesday morning, and I am super stoked because it is bright and sunny outside, and I have an absolutely awesome topic that I'm sure is very top of mind for every brand DIYer out there. That is how to build your brand's value. And you remember on Monday, I said I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of shows in the coming weeks on the fundamentals of what to do with your brand. Really basic stuff. And today I have got a couple of tips for you that are very basic, very easy to get, and will achieve greater brand value for you. So buckle up and let's rock and roll. In my introduction to this, or in the preface to this that I wrote about, I mentioned the Interbrand Top 100. Now, I am including this in the show notes. Interbrand, big global branding agency, they put out a list every year of the top 100 global brands. Because I'm sure you've heard that companies like Coca-Cola, they actually assess their brand value. It's a real thing. Now, assessing a brand value is also a very weird thing because it's not something that people have traditionally put on the balance sheet. You know, they say we have this many machines, we have this many employees, we have this many factories. Those are all real things that accountants can account for. But a brand, until recently, has been something a whole lot more ethereal out there. And they haven't been able to rope it and tie it down and say, this is how much it is worth. However, Interbrand has gone a long way to demonstrating that you can actually assess a brand's value. And I think Coca-Cola was the first company that I saw where they said, our brand is worth this much. What does that come down to? What it comes down to, in its essence, is that if you have a bottle of brown fizzy water, it is worth this much. If you have a bottle of brown fizzy water with a Coca-Cola logo on it, it is worth this much more. It's that simple. Now, there are some very interesting companies. I'm going to stitch this all together, so bear with me. There are some very interesting companies in the Interbrand Top 100, and like I said, I'm linking it in the show notes. Apple, #1 brand in the world. They had a 38% rise in their brand value in 2020. The brand is worth $323 million. Now, you might go, hey, is that a lot of money? Well, in Apple terms, no. The company's worth billions of dollars. However, what it comes down to, what would you pay for a computer without the Apple logo? What would you pay for a computer with the Apple logo? That little intangible Apple logo and the silver look of the MacBook Pro and the sleekness of the iMac and all those sort of little brand cues are worth a lot of money. And then there's number 2, Amazon. Plus 60% in brand value. The brand is worth $201 million. So that is a company obsessed with customers, passion for invention, commitment to operational excellence, long-term thinking. That is what you get when you buy something on Amazon, that feeling. Number 3 brand, Microsoft. Having come up 53% over the last year, 166 million brand value. Digital transformation, that's what they're all about. When you sit down with something that says Microsoft on it, you know that everybody in your organization is going to link to everybody else, and you'll be able to transform your company using the power of digital. So I linked you to that Top 100 in the show notes, but I also linked you to something else. It's a story from Interbrand called Beyond the Storm, and you should read it because it brings up a couple of very, very important points. Beyond the Storm is all about what has happened to us in 2020 with COVID-19 and the economic meltdown. And what they suggest in the story is that what we are seeing today isn't what they call a black swan event. And for those of you unfamiliar with a black swan is something that we just don't see every day. You know, you see white swans everywhere on the lake or on the pond. When you see a black swan, you go, whoa, what's that? Now, in terms of economics or business, a black swan event is something that you do not see every day, very rare, but also can have extremely dire consequences or extremely radical consequences. What they say in Beyond the Storm is that what we have experienced with COVID-19 and the economic meltdown is more of a gray rhino. Think about it. A gray rhino, huge. You can see it, even way down the road. A gray rhino is also very unpredictable. So a gray rhino event in terms of business is something that you could see a mile away, but you didn't really know how to prepare for it, and therefore you didn't prepare for it. And so you could end up on the horn of a gray rhino with your Land Rover and end up having your car tipped over, even though you saw it coming a mile away. So at Interbrand, what they said, or the story in Beyond the Storm, was the point of the story rather was that COVID-19's impact or most enduring legacy won't be masks, won't be social distancing, won't be graffiti. It'll be the end of continuity as a default, as a go-to. Let me explain that. We have been raised with brands to believe in continuity. That if I bought an apple yesterday and it did this, that I'll be able to buy an apple tomorrow and it will do the same thing. What we've seen in our economy, however, and our world, is that one day we're healthy, next day we're not. One day we're at work, next day we're on Zoom. One day we can get product, next day we're fighting each other for toilet paper. Continuity has gone out the window, and that, according to the Interbrand story Beyond the Storm, is the number one legacy of COVID-19. Now, this is very, very relevant. Brand value is built through two things. Well, one thing beyond all is trust, but two things build trust, because trust is kind of a fuzzy word. Relevance and continuity. I just talked about continuity. Our continuity has been disrupted. What builds continuity? Relevance. So, I've got an example here. This is a charging cord from Apple. This charging cord costs about $40 last I checked. This is a no-name charging cord. And this charging cord costs about $5 to $10. I buy the Apple cord. How come? Because I trust the Apple brand. I believe not that I can get it replaced, because you know what? I can get this cord replaced in a heartbeat too. Every London Drugs or Shoppers Drug Mart or app or computer store will replace something that's not working. But I believe that with this Apple cord, they put more thought into it. And I believe that it's going to work right the first time. And I believe that it will give me a sense of continuity. I have a Mac, I have an iPhone, I have an iPad. So why am I going to cheap out on the cord? I want continuity. So let me pull this all back together. I've talked about continuity, trust, relevance. Let me pull this all back together around the idea of what your brand is worth. In the case of this cord versus this cord, your brand, if you're Apple, is worth $30. $10 for this cord, $40 for this cord. The difference in the brand value, $30. Just like, what is a Coke brand worth? A bottle of brown fizzy water is worth $1. A bottle of brown fizzy water with a Coke label is worth $1.50. The brand is worth 50 cents more. So that brings us back to what we want to talk about today, which is what is your brand worth and how to boost your brand's value. Chances are, if you're a brand DIYer, your brand right now is worth very, very little. But consider what I've just talked about, relevance and continuity. We want brands to be relevant to our life That is like Apple. It's relevant to my life. In the case of the cord, I'm Apple everything, and I want quality, so the cord is relevant to my life. And in times of disruption, we want continuity. I don't want one more thing to not work in my life. The office, it doesn't work in my life. My kids going to school doesn't work. Suddenly they're not going. However, Apple has reassured me that I can lean on them. They won't lie. They won't cheat. They won't go dark on me. So consider this. As I just mentioned, chances are your brand is worth very little right now. Not a lot of people know about your brand. They might choose you, or they might choose somebody else. Even Steven. If you priced your cord at $40, not a lot of people would probably go, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'll pay $30 more than the competition. Let's be honest. Will people really pay $40 for you versus $10 for the competition? Probably not. So that brings us to the point of today's show. How are you going to build your brand's value? Two things that I've harped on again and again and again, but you might not have seen where it's all coming together for you personally. Relevance and continuity. Let me finish by illustrating a way that you can build relevance and a way that you can build continuity. Let's start with relevance. This is something that comes up again and again and again when I'm working with clients. What is worth more? A product that you've never heard of and that nobody you know has ever used? Or a product that your friends use and highly recommend? Like Seth Godin says, it is extremely important to embrace the idea of people like us do things like this. People like us do things like this. We are like-minded people. I do this, you should do this too. So let's make that real. How many testimonials do you have on your website saying that I really like this person's product, you will like it too? How many testimonials do you have on your LinkedIn page? How many testimonials do you have on YouTube? Because we all know video is the most effective way of conveying a testimonial ever. Because seeing somebody actually say something, you go, that person's like me. I trust what they say. Think about that. If you want to build relevance and you want to start right now, start thinking about testimonials. Getting people like us to tell other people that your product is trustworthy, that it's relevant to their life because it's relevant to our life. Second point, continuity. What's worth more? A product from a company you know that has been around for a long time and will be around for a long time to come? Or a product from a company you've never heard of that might have just popped into existence yesterday, but you don't know? So, how do you show people continuity for your product when you sell it to them? Do you have a guarantee behind your product? Is that guarantee right on the website? Is that guarantee written down in very explicit terms that people can see, aha, I know that this company has been around for 5 years and it looks like they're going to be around for a lot longer, and the founder has been in this field for 20 years doing this stuff. Therefore, I believe they have continuity. Do you have that guarantee on your website? Is it clear? And does it give people the feeling that you have been around for a while, even if your company hasn't, and that you will continue to be there to help them in the case anything goes wrong in the future? Continuity, relevance. They ladder up to trust. If you have continuity and relevance, you build trust. If you want to build your brand's value, you build trust. And to build relevance and continuity, You start by doing the two things that I just talked about in this live stream. So there you go. I hope this gives you something to think about today. And if you haven't done it already, perhaps it gives you a job to do today that will help you build relevance and continuity and build trust. And in doing that, build your brand's value. Have yourselves an awesome day. I will talk to you tomorrow. We have a special guest on. It's going to be Maggie Langrick, and she is going to be talking about if you should be writing a book or not to build your brand. Talk to you tomorrow.